Zealand's Paul Whibley would not be denied at the previous round of Grand National Cross Country Racing. When series champion Josh Strang ran him down, Whibley shut the door not once, but twice. Whibley would like to win another, but the toughest race of the year is up next. Well, hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Racer TV and the continuing coverage of the Can-Am Grand National Cross Country Series. Jason Wygant, your host for this, the motorsport.com Snowshoe GNCC. And for those of you that have been watching our show the last few years, you know there is nothing quite like racing at Snowshoe. It's West Virginia's largest ski resort. We'll race at 4,848 feet of elevation. And because this place is so fun to hang out in, we bring a whole lot of other events besides the race to the table. That includes Can-Am demo rides with their latest ATVs and UTVs, and GNCC University, where Yamaha brings out their factory cross-country racers and lets them teach the future of the sport, how to climb hills, ride through mud, and the other types of rough terrain you'd face at a GNCC event. And if you don't want to get dirty and waste too much energy, then you can participate in the Snowshoe GNCC Golf Tournament. And Yamaha dominating that one as well as their team manager, Randy Hawkins, who's practically a ringer out there in the links, brings a trophy home for the boys in blue. As far as the race goes, this is the toughest track of the year, bar none. 40 miles, nearly 4 times the distance of a typical GNCC. We'll try to get in as many laps as we can within 3 hours, and we have some rain coming down today just to make the conditions even more difficult. Now, we will start out in the middle of the Snowshoe Ski Village. That is a nod to the original GNCC event, the Blackwater 100, which took place in Davis, West Virginia. And an additional nod to that event, once they get off of the hard road, they're going to face nasty mud holes, hill climbs, tree roots, rocks, the toughest terrain you can take a dirt bike through. Don't let the pavement fool you. Once we get racing today, it is going to be downright treacherous for these riders. Let's go racing. And they cruise on that wet, slippery pavement. Josh Strang, your GNCC Series champ, leading them on row 1. Here is row 2. We're lining up by order of overall points. Chris Bach on the Beta going to lead row 2, and there will be a time adjustment for these riders as Jimmy Jarrett, number 44, Geico Honda, leads row 3 into the first turn. A few seconds between each row, they will subtract that time from the riders' scores at the end of the day, so you do not have to lead the race physically to win the race overall, and don't think the riders on these back rows are not thinking about that. Rory Mead, another Geico Honda rider, leading this row into the woods. Here we go, off the hard road, onto the dirt. Josh Strang leading Paul Whibley. You got Nate Canny in third, who won this race last year. Corey Buttrick, Charlie Mullins, fourth and fifth. Here's Bach leading row 2, and Caleb Russell, FMF KTM, running our helmet cam and pushing and shoving his way to, that would be 7th place. 6th right in front of him is Bach, who's leading row 2. It's your Amsoil helmet cam. And notice, we are now on to the cross-country ski trails. This is much more typical GNCC terrain than riding on pavement. But this is much more typical terrain for Snowshoe. The majority of this race will be like this. Deep, dark, muddy, slippery, rock and root infested woods. This is a technical challenge for these riders. You see Bach has already moved up past Canny up to 5th. So the row 2 riders already challenging the riders on row 1. There is the number 9 of Jesse Robinson, who nearly won this race last year. He battled Nate Canny all the way down to the final mile. And that is the key. This race is so long, so grueling. See these riders out on the hard roads really just taking it easy. It's almost like a rest stop when you get in the terrain like that. Because when you get back in, they got to pound these woods trails. It's going to take a lot of energy out of these riders. Now Whibley moving into the lead in front of Canny. So obviously a problem for Strang, who was leading. Charlie Mullins up to 3rd, and now Strang back to 4th. So just like that, this very difficult track has claimed a victim. And Thad Duvall, who started way back, is making tracks as well. And Duval had a great run at this track back when this race began back in 2007. He's comfortable in the mud. Could today be that long-awaited breakthrough day for the 989? He's yet to win one of these races overall. He's come close many times. Man, there's no reason to even theorize about who's going to win this thing early on. So much can and will happen, especially when you look at how close this field is right now. They got to attack these sections like trials riders. You want to take the lead early and go for it? Go ahead. It's going to be a long day. Stay with us. When we race at Snowshoe, we race for everyone, and a four-wheel drive ATV is not a bad way to get through these muddy conditions, and that's what's cool about this series. On Saturdays, we race the four-wheelers. On Sunday, we race the two. So if you've got an ATV, even a utility quad in the garage, come on out and join us. We'll show the upcoming rounds of Grand National Cross Country Racing. We have a summer break, and then in September, we'll get back at it at the Can-Am Unadilla GNCC. We'll stick around the Northeast and Pennsylvania, then we'll go to Ohio and then Indiana. And we'll also go back to Loretta Lynn Ranch, actually, to end this series up. We were supposed to race there a month ago. That one got rained out. Let's get back to the action here at Snowshoe. Paul Whibley leading Nate Canny. And look at this line from Josh Strang, a totally different line. He and Corey Buttrick are going to run. And you got to watch a Honda that just came through is Rory Mead, the New Zealander, who is riding as a guest with the Geico Honda team and doing a good job right now. And Caleb Russell running her helmet cam comes through. Two different ways to go as we head into the woods. Which one of these lines, the left or the right, is going to work out better? And that's something these riders will learn as the day goes on. Man, there's some major mud down there on the right. I think that's the shorter line. The line to the left is the easy but longer way to go. We got Whibley, Canny, and Mullins in the number 3 spot. And they are leading it through right now. And Strang, you see, took that long way around. Didn't lose that much ground, and certainly less risk there. And there's the Honda of Mead. Back into the mud is Whibley. Whibley, your 2009 GNCC champ, third in the series last year. That's why he runs the number 3, and he won the last race that we raced in the Rocks in Pennsylvania. Nate Canny from upstate New York really thrives in these conditions. He's in second. Charlie Mullins, who's had all kinds of bad luck at this race before, is third, and he's leading Strang, and that is big. Mullins and Strang are the two that are battling for the GNCC Series points lead, and early on at least, Mullins leads his rival around. And now Canny has put his 116 machine up into the number 1 spot. A little extra incentive. St. Lawrence Radiology putting $5,000 on the line for the race win today as a bonus. We had 10 grand on the line last year, and Canny won that. So he knows if you're going to perform on one day of the year, this is the one where you want to do it. There's extra money on the line. Of course, Canny's pretty tough on every GNCC race, but he really seems to excel here in these extremely treacherous conditions at Snowshoe. We talked about the torture test for these riders, but keep in mind what this does for the bikes. When you're riding this slow, often spinning tires, running high RPM, you got to slip the clutch. The radiators get packed in mud. Easy to fry a clutch or just blow a motor altogether in this terrain. And that's in addition to all the work you have to do regarding the elevation. The machines aren't going to run as well at elevation as they will at sea level, and it's going to take a lot more out of the riders physically. Obviously, the thin air, it's harder to breathe. As we see, Whibley has lost a ton of ground now. He's gone pretty far back. There is Duval still in contention as Canny tries to get away in the hard roads. But also something most people don't realize is dehydration, as Canny leads them uphill here, is a major problem at elevation. You breathe harder, you lose more fluid because of it. Let's put it this way. If you were to breathe right in front of a mirror, fog up that mirror, well, that's a little bit of moisture. Do that heavy exhale over and over for 3 hours at altitude where you're going to be breathing hard. So the riders really have to be conservative with their energy early on. It doesn't look like they want to be. They are battling hard uphill right now. Duval trying to make passes. Meanwhile, we're into the WMR KTM pits, and the people at Clockwork Orange working with Canny. They've got him in. Here's the factory FMF pit with Mullins on the right and Buttrick on the left. Want to get those bikes serviced, fill up the fuel tank, get them in and out. This is going to be a long day in the saddle for these riders. We'll be back with more after this. Big crowd on here in the woods, and they are cheering for the man from New York, Nate Canny, who is leading the Snowshoe GNCC. Josh Strang has climbed back up to second from fourth. He's got Charlie Mullins right behind him in third, and just a little bit of the gap, a little bit further back. I think that was Corey Butcher coming through, and now it's Thad Duvall. Duvall actually started a few rows back, so on adjusted time, he and this man, Rory Mead, are looking good. You also have to watch Jordan Ashburn on a 250. The XC2 class is in the hunt right now. With a battle beginning to shape up between Canny and Strang. Back onto the hard roads, and then we'll connect back to the ski slopes in just a moment. Mullins going to try to go with him. There's Buttrick in fourth, takes a look over his shoulder. Competition coming from, I believe, Ashburn. No, that's Duvall, Ashburn, and Mead. So those top seven have kind of taken ownership right now of this one. Fans cheering Nate Canny through, and they'll help these guys get stuck. Those fans are allowed to get in there and start tugging on the bikes. Look at this battle. Mullins going to try to make a pass on Strang. Just couldn't quite make it happen. You got Buttrick sticking right with them in the number 4 spot. Best run of the year, I'd say, for Corey B. And definitely the best run of the year for this man, Nate Canny. Just beautiful style up on the pegs. And putting some distance between that Strang and Mullins battle behind him. Buttrick is lurking in fourth. And incidentally, our early leader, Paul Whibley, we hear is struggling, derailed a chain, and that's why he's no longer with this lead group. Here's Canny through the mud. That stuff is so slippery, then it gets on top of the rocks and the tree roots just to make it worse. And you see the impact it has made. Rory Mead is the big mover. He has gotten up to fourth now in front of Buttrick and behind Canny. And here comes the rest of the pack. You got Duvall, followed by, I believe, Stuart Baylor and Ashburn. So Baylor and Ashburn are both XC2 riders. They are on 250s. They will have adjusted time on their side, but Canny is beginning to put some distance between himself and the field. He rides this track like he owns it. Still Strang and Mullins coming through next. Then Rory Mead in front of Buttrick. And Mead, like we said, a guest rider because Geico Honda's Jimmy Jarrett had an injury earlier in the year. They brought Mead over from New Zealand just to get a few races in. I don't think they expected a podium or a win out of this guy, but on adjusted time, he is in contention to do that. Here comes Canny through the mud, and it's just old school. You've got to pick the best line by sight. No fans over in this section to point out the good way. And look at that. You got Mullins up to second and Mead up to third, so they have dropped Strang now for the moment. And as they can barely negotiate this mud, they can see the leader, Canny, right in front of them. Now we're back into the woods, and we see Strang has taken over the lead. Steep downhill here. Mullins in second. So where is Canny? Rory Mead is still third, and I don't see Canny, who was our leader. And look at how tough that downhill is. Just blocking up the rear brake is Mead and still barely able to hang on. This is Canny coming through next. And wow, just one little mistake on this track makes a massive difference. You got Duvall back here as well. But even in far back as Duvall, you know one little mistake, which apparently is very easy to happen on this track, can shake it up, and it has, as Josh Strang has gone to the lead, and now the fans cheering the Australian on. Look at this. Slippery logs in the mud. Can it get more difficult? Mullins in second. And Mead in third. Most of these fans in the woods are probably saying, who the heck is that guy? And now Mullins has taken over the lead. So Mullins takes the lead. He's got Mead behind him. Apparently a mistake for Strang has dropped him to third. And a lot of different leaders today and a lot more racing yet to come. Stay with us. This thing just keeps on a-changing here. Racer TV's coverage of this motorsport.com Snowshoe GNCC. Your early leader is now back in the lead. Nate Canny had some trouble at mid-race. lost the lead to Josh Strang. Strang lost the lead to Charlie Mullins. Now Mullins has gotten stuck. Strang is in second and trying to run down Canny late in this one. And look at this, the kid, Stuart Baylor, seeing a shot at glory. He is leading the XC2 class for 250s, but knows he has an outside shot to maybe win this race overall, and he is hustling. Back onto the ski slopes, and Nate Canny sees the white flag, so that means 1 lap to go for him, and each lap is considered half of the mountain, so about 11 miles separating him and Strang from the checkered flag. And the lead for Canny, as we watch Baylor come through in third, is about 33 seconds, but Baylor has an outside shot at the overall win due to the adjusted time, and he's doing it on a little 2-stroke 250, where these guys are on the big 4-stroke 450s. But in treacherous terrain like this, it is not about horsepower. The lighter weight 2-stroke might even be an advantage. Look at Strang just muscling that Suzuki through. And he is within sight. No, wait a minute, Baylor has gotten in front. I thought that was a lap rider. Baylor has gotten in front of Strang. He's got a shot at this. Baylor is only 16 years old. He will turn 17 tomorrow, and he is taking on the big guns. Here he is in second, and you can hear the 2-stroke as he tries to put some traction down on the ground that is basically impossible to get traction on. There is Strang right behind him. Nate Canny continues to lead. And Canny knows how to seal the deal here. He battled with a 252 stroke at this race last year in Jesse Robinson and managed to bring it home with the win. Can he hold off Baylor and Strang today? And Strang beginning to push the pace as he always does late. He knows championship points are on the line. Mullins made a mistake before we got to the white flag and lost a bunch of ground. So it is down to these three. And we got someone out here pointing out the good lines. That is actually Randy Hawkins from the Yamaha team and our golf expert pointing out the good lines to the KTM rider, Canny. So that's good sportsmanship, of course, from the Javelin, who will help out anybody. And look at the distance built up. And in fact, that is Mullins. And you don't see Strang and Baylor. Remember, earlier in the race, there was a left and right, a fork that you could take in the road that allowed you to go around this mud. It's the long way around. Apparently, Strang and Baylor have taken it, and it has paid off. Josh Strang now into the lead in the latter moments of this race. He took the long way around, and apparently it was the faster way because he was able to avoid the mud. Who is in second? Is it Baylor or is it Canny? It is Canny, who lost the lead in that mud hole. Let's see if he can run the Suzuki man down. Canny's going to have to try to push, but it is so hard to do it in technical terrain like this. But you can see he is closing the gap back up. Strang on that FMF Makita Suzuki, trying to hang on over the WMR Clockwork Orange FMF KTM of Canny. Then you've got Mullins in third. Apparently Baylor has, there he is, he has gone to fourth, so he had that good charge going. He lost a little ground. Meanwhile, we're into the field for the last time, and Strang is leading with Canny right behind. Time's up. Josh Strang is going to win the Snowshoe GNCC. Nate Canny takes a close second, and Mullins, with a bike that is beaten and battered, preserves championship points by taking third or not. Baylor is going to possibly edge out Mullins on adjusted time. He crosses the line fourth, and he does. He is third overall and wins the XC2 class for 250s. There's the rest of the results. Let's go down to Krista Shaw with our race winner.
All right, Josh Strang finally breaking your curse of no podium finishes here at Snowshoe, taking the win. How are you feeling out there today?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I'm stoked to get the win here, and I wasn't sure coming into the week, a little bit sick. I didn't get to ride at all, and a little bit under the weather, so to get the win and some good points is really good. I'm stoked. The track was pretty difficult today. Some of it was not so bad, and then there were some bad spots that were really bad. So overall, happy to get the win and increase the points lead.
Well, you did a great job out there today.
Thank you.
And Strang edges ahead in points just a bit more on Mullins. Tough day for Whibley with that 6th place, with Canny and Buttrick rounding out the top 5 in your DWT point standings. Let's check out the Can-Am race recap and show you how this race turned out. The top 5 in points were on row 1. Strang led early. Paul Whibley grabbed the lead from him, but then derailed Chain, and that opened the door for Nate Canny to take over the number 1 spot. Canny was looking strong for a while, leading Strang and Mullins around. He led the majority of this race, but then made one mistake, and that allowed Strang to take the lead. Mullins and a New Zealand upstart, Rory Mead, were right there in contention as well. Then Canny would get the lead back, and how about the 16-year-old upstart, Stuart Baylor, right there with Strang behind him. And then Strang gambled. He took the long way around the mud hole in the last lap. That gamble paid off. Look at the gap, right down to the finish. He holds off Canny by the slimmest of margins to take the win. Congratulations to Josh Strang, and for everyone at Racer TV, thanks for watching.